The discovery that the early onset genes all increased beta amyloid in the brain was a huge step forward for scientists. Only humans get Alzheimer's, but putting human genes into the brains of mice makes beta amyloid develop. This gives researchers an important tool in the fight against the disease.
Before we can study humans over years, we'll be able to study mice over months, because the whole process of amyloid deposition in these mice that have the two mutations is squeezed down to a small window of time that makes it practical to study.
But before they could study beta amyloid in mice, they still had to find that magic bullet, a compound that would cross the blood-brain barrier, stick to the plaques, and clear out again.
After spending 7 or 8 years working on something, going through hundreds of compounds, most of the things are failures. We get maybe one success out of several hundred compounds.
As much as one atom difference between some of these compounds makes it good enough or not good enough.
After almost 10 years of painstaking work, they finally had something that looked good in the lab, and they were ready to test it on mice. In a miniature brain scanner, a mouse was injected with what Dukoski's team named the Pittsburgh compound. The mouse slept through the moment they'd been waiting for 10 years. But the compound did exactly what they'd hoped. Got into the brain, stuck to the plaques, and then quickly cleared away.
The first thing you see that's so exciting to me is you can see the compound leave the blood and go into the brain. And then you can see it finding the outside of the plaque and working its way to the center. So we can just see the whole process is there in one little 10-second nutshell.
The Pittsburgh compound was working. But the technology at Dukoski's lab only showed plaque deposits that were big and had already destroyed parts of the brain. If there was any chance that they could prevent this destruction, they had to be able to see much smaller amyloid deposits and much earlier in the process. Back at Massachusetts General Hospital, a powerful microscope using a laser can see deep inside the living brain. So the two teams started a collaboration, the Pittsburgh compound and the Massachusetts microscope, to search for tiny individual amyloid plaques.
This white vessel is coated with amyloid deposits. The red things are senile plaques, labeled with the Pittsburgh compound in this case. Those are the troublemakers. We really took a leap, put a lot of time and effort into doing this, and to actually have it work was just amazing.
And what they want to do next could be even more amazing. They will try the Pittsburgh compound in humans. If it works in the human brain, the stage will be set for the first time to target drugs directly to beta amyloid, and possibly to stop Alzheimer's in its earliest stages.
It would revolutionize Alzheimer's disease. By being able to directly image the plaques, we'll be able to tell when we have therapies in hand whether or not those therapies are working. Our hope is that if you could stop amyloid deposition, that you would prevent the disease, that the people would simply never get Alzheimer's disease then. And that, of course, is all of our goal.
Reaching that goal won't change the inevitable outcome for Gladys Fugit.
The disease is progressing and the loss of short-term memory is accelerating. She started smoking again about 6 or 7 weeks ago. I worry that she will forget that she's lit a cigarette and let it burn, and it'll fall on the carpet or fall on the couch. We'll end up with a fire. But She insists that she needs to smoke a cigarette.
When?
And all the time.
I don't smoke.
Yes, you do.
When?
You smoke. You
Oh, I
have
don't.
cigarettes in your purse now.
I bet you I don't, unless you put them in there.
Never hit real grass over there. It's frustrating one day at a time.
Hey, Tree, come on, I can sit up here with Lynn.
Sometimes I feel that I failed to properly compensate for the fact that it's not her, it's the disease.
Some more grass out.
You know, as long as I remember that, then it's all right.
There's still some part of her there. So I can exist with the part that's there and try and keep it there as long as you can.
As the epidemic of Alzheimer's continues to grow, Rudy Tanzi's team is searching for new genetic clues to the common form of the disease which strikes in old age.
The question is why one person gets to the point of having Alzheimer's by 70 or 80 years old, whereas another person lasts until 90, with becoming hardly demented at all. So the way we attack Alzheimer's is to identify all of the genes that can confer risk. And remember, they don't even act individually. In one person, you can have 5 or 6 different risk factors, gene-to-gene interactions, environment triggering these genes, complex systems that need to be worked out. Ultimately, the goal will be to predict early in life who is at greatest risk for Alzheimer's, then use that information to start prescribing prophylactic, preventative drugs so that we don't even allow the disease to strike. So I think we're going to get there, and I think that's the hope for Alzheimer's, and it's going to serve as a model for most other age-related diseases.
Eric has taken a leave, and then John and I are...
Drugs to prevent Alzheimer's could literally be lifesavers for the next generation of the Noonan family. Once a year, they come to Massachusetts General to meet with Tanzi.
So I think you probably want to hear most about what's going on in the therapy world and drug development world.
The family is particularly interested in an experimental vaccine that had promising early trials.
So you know that the vaccine, I wouldn't say the vaccine trial was terminated. That's probably the wrong term because it wasn't terminated. They stopped the dosing. 17 people out of 300 had a response where the brain, there was some encephalitis and swelling in the brain, and some of those people died. So it looks like it's a T-cell problem. But that's fixable. And I would speculate that by the end of the year, we're going to see a new phase 1 safety trial with the safer version of the vaccine. Other trials that are in the works, there's cholesterol, and you know the cholesterol-lowering drugs seem to lower A-beta accumulation. Those trials are ongoing. There are 2 or 3 going on. We have to wait for those. So there are lots of things going on, you know, at all different stages, and you know it's just getting one to click, and then I mean my vision is to 10 years, hopefully sooner. But well, the numbers don't make sense. But I mean, the thing is,
Do you know how long we've been hearing 5 to 10 years?
Well, you know why? You know why? Because the original, who knew? You see, you never know what's going to happen.
Yes.
Who knew
You're not the only person I know that said 5 to 10
It's
years.
guesswork. I mean, I might say 5 to 10, and somebody might hear me say that or read that and say, "Oh, Tanzi's full of crap. It's going to be 15 to 20 years." You should just know that there are thousands and thousands of people working 12-hour days every day to to try and make it a possibility that, you know, at some point there's going to be a generation in your family where they don't have to think about this anymore. And I think that will be a reality. It's just a matter of time.
In Pittsburgh, Dikoski's team was about to find out if their years of work on the compound were going to pay off. They were finally ready for their first human trials. Fred Knepp is a volunteer who does not have Alzheimer's, but he has consented to let the team inject him with the compound and scan his brain to see if it will cross the blood-brain barrier and how long it takes to clear out. As soon as the compound enters Mr. Knapp's vein, tiny samples of blood are taken every 5 seconds to see how quickly it's being metabolized.